Well, it's now been 7 weeks and no suspect or person of interest in the murder of the 4 Idaho college students. However, there are 3 clues. 3 clues we will discuss, along with updates on this case. Join me today in what some people are calling, well, the fastest minutes in podcasting.
And opinions expressed in this podcast are those solely of individuals interviewed and participating in this show and do not represent those of Peacemaker Network and Charlie Crimebuster. All individuals described or mentioned in the podcast should be considered innocent until found guilty in a court of law. This podcast contains subject matter such as violence and graphic descriptions which may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, hello and welcome to our Charlie Crime Talk today. We're going to be discussing the mystery that has now captured the attention of not only the nation but the world. We are now seeing discussions around the world about this vicious murder regarding the stabbing of the Moscow Four. The Moscow Four being Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. 4 innocent, young, attractive students whose life ended before Thanksgiving this year. First, let me welcome all of our new listeners and say hi to our Charlie Crimebuster family. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to reach me with questions, suggestions, or opinions, hey, feel free to email me, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. And if you would like to support the program, you can go to peacemakernetwork.com and donate. For as little as $3, you can become a badge supporter. Again, that's peacemakernetwork.com. That info, of course, will be in our show notes. Now let's start out by an update. New information has emerged in the past weeks about a previous contact with the murder house on King Street there in Moscow, Idaho. You see, according to the New York Post and newly released body cam footage, well, that body cam footage, it reveals authorities previously responded to a wild party at that murder house where 4 University Idaho students were slain on November the 13th. Now, in the video that was obtained by True Crime YouTube channel, Truth and Transparency, well, Moscow police officers are seen addressing a noise complaint. That's there at 1122 King Road. That was back on the night of September the 1st this year, 2022. So after they knocked on the door for about 10 minutes, well, they were greeted by a group of guys who were having a good time. One who informed them that the residents, well, they're not at home. No, not the people who really live there. It's everybody else. He went on to say they left and went to another party. That's what he told the officers, who were getting somewhat frustrated by now. Of course, that was referring to Madison, Kaylee, Xana, as well as their 2 other housemates. Now, after a tense moment in which the officer demanded that the students quit playing games, well, they managed to contact Mogan. And speaking to one of the officers, well, Mogan, who identifies herself, of course, we know her as Maddie, she can be heard saying she was, quote, so sorry for the inconvenience. And then she went on to say, well, I'm just frustrated. Now, it's unclear where Maddie was when she took that call. The officer on the body cam just advised her to just come home. Now, my friend, there's nothing really wrong with college students having a good time. In fact, most can remember good times while in college. But it does show us that in reality, well, there's going to be a whole lot of DNA in that party house for the police to go through. And it also shows us that this is the very kind of behavior that may have fueled the rage of an unbalanced offender. You see, the offender could have targeted these young people just to show them that life is not that fun. Particularly maybe an offender who has antisocial tendencies and could not seemingly, quote-unquote, fit in with that kind of crowd. Now, last week, we shared with you the profile that many expert criminalists have projected into this case. Be sure and go back to the last episode if you didn't catch that one. Now, this could also motivate what is called an uncel killer, one who's celibate. You see, while uncel killers do not all resort to violence, mostly they just spit out hateful rhetoric, well, the lifestyle of these students could push such a person to violence, at no fault to the victims. Now, because the police are not giving much information at all of the murders, well, speculation is all that most of us can really comment on in this case. I would caution all of us who are engaging in this dialogue, including me, yours truly, to please refrain from mentioning names of people who could be innocent of these crimes. Now, there is one such person who has not hesitated to mention names without an iota of evidence to back up their claims. And guess what? Well, that person, they're now being sued for slander. That's right. This comes to us from NBC News. You see, a University of Idaho professor who says that she's been wrongly accused, now get this, she was accused of ordering the unsolved killings of the 4 college students last month. Well, now she's alleging that she's been slandered, and she's taken it to court in a federal lawsuit filed this past week, against this self-described internet sleuth who posted the allegations on TikTok. That suit, which was filed Wednesday in the Idaho District Court, it was filed by History Department Chair Rebecca Schofield. She accused a TikTok user, her name was Ashley, of falsely alleging that the professor had planned the killings with another University of Idaho student. Now, those videos appeared on the platform TikTok on November 24th. They've been viewed, get this, millions of times, according to the suit. And Ashley claims to have solved the high-profile murder using tarot cards and performing other readings. Well, my friend, again, this lawsuit appears to be the latest example of what one expert called dangerous speculation. That's all surrounding those homicides in Moscow on November the 13th. You see, authorities have not identified any suspects in their killings, nor have they even found a murder weapon. They do say it believed it was an edged weapon, such as a knife. And the Moscow Police Department, well, they have previously called out what is described as misinformation, and they say, quote, stoking community fears, spreading false facts in the case. The department even now has, get this, a rumor control section on its website under frequently asked questions in the case. Now, according to that suit, Schofield, who began working at the university back in 2016, well, she never even met these students, nor had they ever taken a class with her. The suit goes on to say she was with her husband in Portland, Oregon, visiting friends when those students were killed. So a lawyer for Schofield, well, she sent a cease and desist letter back on November the 29th. But this TikToker kept on posting what the suit calls, well, just defamatory videos. Then they sent a second cease and desist letter on December the 8th. And Schofield said that she would need to file actual legal documents in federal court, asking her to remove them. Well, a week and a half later, the TikToker, they posted more than 20 videos, again, falsely alleging that Schofield was involved with the student. And now she's saying that she had ordered the killings to conceal the relationship. And yet the professor never met this TikToker. She does not know her. She does not know why this TikToker picked her to repeatedly falsely accuse of ordering the tragic murders. And the suit, of course, adds, to the allegations that triggered significant emotional distress. And so now she's suing. Now, my friend, while I do believe in the freedom of press, I do not believe that people have the right to slander people and put their lives in danger. This is one lawsuit I hope the professor wins. Now, while there is much speculation in the case, and some of that's because of the minimal information released by investigators, well, my friend, I want you to know there are really three real-time clues that have surfaced in this investigation. They are about a car, a glove, and a screen. And my friend, this is not speculation. These three things are real. And we're going to discuss these clues in a moment, but right now it's time for what we call our Crazy Crook Story of the Week. We always share a Crazy Crook story to lighten the load. This is about two of them, two crazy crooks. They were would-be thieves. They thought they had the perfect plan. You see, one would run into the local Kohl's, the department store, grab a bunch of merchandise, and run back out to the parking lot, where the second guy would be waiting with a getaway car. But guess what? What the suspects likely did not count on was their getaway car. Well, the battery was dying. County deputies say they responded to a call about an alleged theft at a shopping center about 3:30 p.m. last Monday. When they got there, they say they found the hood of the car up, and this guy by the name of Raymond and Derek, well, they were trying to get a jump from bystanders. That's according to KPTV. And found in that car, among other items, well, phones, laptops, clothing from other stores, stolen credit cards, a credit card reader, drugs, and counterfeit cash. Now get this, these guys were going to get off of all of this. And then they even found out that the car, he said, belonged to his wife, but also stolen the getaway car itself. And they were arrested on all kinds of charges: theft, identity theft, possession of meth, warrant for aggravated ID theft, and possession of a forged instrument, another warrant for drug possession. So, my friend, if you're planning to get a quick getaway when you steal stuff, probably make sure that your battery charge has a full charge, don't you think? Well, these two guys, indeed, are what we call Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crooks of the Week. Now back to our main focus. 4 beautiful college students were found stabbed to death back on November the 13th this year. There are, at this point, no suspect, no named person of interest. And the police, they're extremely closed-mouthed on the investigation, but there are three mystery clues that have surfaced: a car, a glove, and a screen. Well, the vehicle, of course, is the white Hyundai that has been now plastered all across social media. And there's a new update on that vehicle that's come to the forefront. You see, investigators have now ruled out any connection between a damaged car that was found abandoned in Oregon and the murders of these university students 500 miles away in Moscow. You see, for 2 weeks or more, the police have been searching for that white Hyundai Elantra, which was spotted in the immediate area of the student home on King Road on the time of the murders. But on Tuesday, the police confirmed that a vehicle matching the description of the mystery car, it had been reported to police in Eugene, Oregon. That's on the 17th of this month, December. The Eugene Police Department told the Independent in a statement that they had received a 911 call about 5:19 a.m. reporting a person sleeping inside that vehicle. It had heavy damage on its front end. Officers did respond to the scene, but no further report was made about the incident. However, the department did say they passed it on the information back there to the police in Moscow. And the Moscow Police Department, well, they confirmed to the Independent that they were aware of the vehicle, were working and determining whether or not it was the same car they were searching for. But unfortunately, while many had hopes that they finally had a break in the case, well, it came to an end. Some hours later, police announced the vehicle was not connected in the unsolved killing. Police said they had tracked down the owner of that abandoned vehicle, learned that it had been involved in a collision, and had been impounded. That vehicle was registered out of Colorado, and the female owner is not believed to have any relation whatsoever to any property in Moscow, Idaho, or in the ongoing murder investigations. Then, get this, the police had to ask the public, please stop contacting the vehicle owner. Again, we have people who are overstepping into the investigation. Please let the police do their job. If you have important information, submit it to the Tipline. Get out of the way. Putting yourself into the investigation, well, my friend, that only hinders progress in the case. So, my friend, the police are still looking for this vehicle. They're saying they think that the occupant or the occupants may have important information on the case. But most seasoned investigators, including yours truly, we're all pretty well in agreement. Police think much more about this car. This, my friend, probably more than likely is the vehicle that the offender used to get away from the scene. And that driver would indeed be the suspect that so far has gotten away. So that's the car. Now we got 3 clues: the car, a glove, and a screen. Next, very surprising clue to me comes from a fellow podcaster, Chris McDonald. He's a retired homicide detective, very successful, actually works on cold case crimes right now with some of the greatest criminals in the nation. Well, he was visiting the very scene of the crime when, get this now, this several days later, he came across a glove. That's right. You see, a retired homicide detective, he does host a podcast of his own called The Interview Room. He spoke about discovering the glove while visiting the crime scene in a video. That was live streamed on YouTube channel back in November 28th. And while showing footage, he actually showed footage, real footage of that glove. That glove nestled among the leaves in the snow just right outside the house. This was in the crime scene, friend. He said detectives appeared not to be aware of it. That's until he pointed it out. He went on to say, I actually found the glove, turned it over. I pointed to it to the officer who was there securing the scene, and police came very quickly. They collected it. He went on to say that the officer there was obviously said that they did not know about it. He came over, photographed it, and they had an evidence tech who immediately came out, got the glove. Now, McDonald said that the glove raised several questions, and I agree, starting whether it was there on the night the students were murdered. Is that from that night, he went on to say? Is it random? Somebody missed the trash can they were walking by? Or is the subject taunting authorities by placing something like this, hypothetically, he said. There was another one who posted and said that it was crazy that he had found a glove that was not spotted by the investigators. One you posted, I still can't get over the fact that they disregarded that glove for several days. It's probably nothing, but you can see it in the other news footage. You see? This is kind of disturbing, isn't it? And there was another one that posted and said, while every piece of evidence counts, if I'd committed a crime, the last thing I'd do is leave a glove behind. I'd take the last bit of evidence far away as I could and possibly burn it. My friend, now, while some may think that it's not a very big deal, it is a very big deal. First, if the glove is the killer's, then there's likely DNA there. However, even if it's not the killer, well, I'm going to tell you, my friend, a defense attorney is going to have a heyday with this information. You see, this glove was found by a person looking in from the outside of the crime scene. No doubt the attorney will use this glove. He'll use it to cast doubt on the prosecution of the offender. He'll point to it as evidence, saying that the scene was not secured properly or processed properly. Now, it could have been buried in the snow and overlooked by investigators. Well, then the attorney's going to say, wonder what else was overlooked. Either way, by this being pointed out by someone who's not active on the case, it's going to be used to point out weaknesses in this case. I'm telling you, my friend, this mystery glove, it has O.J. Simpson, quote, if the glove fits, does not fit, you must acquit. Sound to it, doesn't it? All right, next, we're going to talk to you about a real-life scream. That's right, a real-life scream that was heard around the time of the murders. But now we're going to take just a moment to point out Courageous Citizen of the Week. Now, in dangerous and violent situations, it can become difficult to know what to do. Panic can set in. It can cause one to second-guess how to behave for fear of escalating a terrible situation. But one night in Ohio, a woman's quick thinking allowed her to figure out a quick way to call for help. And that's without erasing an aggressor's suspicious during a domestic violence situation in her home. And by doing that, she managed to save her own mother from a horrible fate. It was back in November, and there was a 911 dispatcher. He received a call that appeared to have been made to the wrong number. You see, the woman on the phone, she started off by saying she wanted to order a pizza. Well, the dispatcher promptly told her she placed the call to the wrong number. But his suspicions were raised when she refused to hang up. He repeated his question, and her answer confirmed his suspicion. And he jumped into action. "You called 911 to order a pizza?" he said, to which the caller responded, No, you're not understanding." Well, a moment later, the dispatcher said, "Well, I'm getting you now." And he said, "Is the guy still there?" And the caller said, "Yeah, I need a large pizza," before specifying pepperoni. Now, wise to the situation, the dispatcher then asked more yes or no questions. He was able to get the caller's street address, the apartment number. He assured the caller that a police vehicle would be dispatched to the location provided. He also, at the same time, advised the police to keep their sirens off until they were within physical distance of the unit to help. Now, my friend, because of this quick-thinking young lady who called and ordered a pizza to 911 without alerting the attacker that something bad was going on, she was able to get police to the scene, and they were able to save 2 people from possible torture and, even worse, death. So both the victim, who was smart thinking, and the dispatcher, they both are indeed Charlie Crimebuster's courageous citizens of the week. All right, back to the main focus. So now we have a car and a glove. Now let's get to the scream. You see, a police officer's body cam picked up a high-pitched sound that could have been a scream on the very night that the 4 University of Idaho College students were slaughtered in their beds. The sound, well, it was recorded about 3:12 a.m. on November the 13th by a Moscow, Idaho cop responding to an incident. An incident was unrelated to the murders, but it was also near the university campus. That's what the Daily Mail reported. The sound was heard around the time the students were killed, and while some think it was a scream, well, others thought it might be the squeal of a car tires pulling away. Now, so far, we all know that the police has not made much progress, but this scream, well, it makes us think that something bad was going on around that time. The newly released video footage of a police stop involves students suspected of underage drinking, and several people can be seen moving quickly past the police on Taylor Avenue in the background of the video. And this was just, now get this, just 2 houses down from the scene of the crime. It occurred just minutes before police said the students were killed. And Moscow police have now released the body cam footage of that evening, showing the officers conducting normal business around the campus. On December the 8th, there was also a neighbor of those students who also reported hearing a scream. Now, I have heard that footage, and I can tell you that if you just listen to the body cam without magnifying that sound, you really can't make out what that scream is, or even if it is a scream. But my friend, wait for it. When that sound is magnified, it is clear, it is crystal clear. You actually hear a female yelling, "Stop it! Stop!" And my friend, it is a blood-curdling scream. I don't have the capability of magnifying that scream for you on the recording, but I heard it as it was magnified, and I can declare to you without a shadow of a doubt, it was a female screaming, "Stop it! Stop!" Now, we often say in investigations there's no such thing as coincidence. You see, there was a scream in the night at the very time of the murders, of a female screaming, "Stop it! Stop!" It is, my friend, frightening. Now, if that scream did indeed come from the house, it could lead credence to the speculation that's been going around that Ethan either heard something and that he then confronted the killer, and that his body the next day was found outside the bedroom by those surviving roommates, who were so shocked they ran outside the house, and one collapsed and was unconscious The other so shocked she could not speak. Therefore, one of the friends used her phone to call 911 and reported, you got it, an unconscious person. Makes perfect sense that way for the call to the police to respond to an unconscious person. Then first responders arrived to find the other murdered students in the house. Now again, we don't know that because the police have not released a 911 call, and this could be the very reason they did not, putting Ethan maybe as the first person attacked. Or maybe the killer already had killed on the 3rd floor, then was coming down to the 2nd floor, and was then confronted by Ethan. The scream? That could have been from Ethan's girlfriend, Xana, whose father has already told the media that she put up a courageous fight before she was killed. She was one of those who had the defensive wounds, killed by this knife-carrying monster who killed those 4 college students on that cold November night. You see, I believe it's quite possible that that scream came from Xana, as her boyfriend was being attacked by the offender. Stop! Stop it! Stop! So there you have it. 3 clues: a car, a glove, and a scream. Whichever, the bottom line is 4 students were killed, and there's a killer out there on the loose somewhere. Now, most all serious, seasoned investigators are saying there is a high probability that this killer will kill again, if not caught. So please, my friend, if you know something, say something. Maybe you know someone who in the time of the murders had cuts and scratches, trying to hide them. Someone who was not home all through that night with suspicious activity. Someone who perhaps has an attachment to a large fixed-blade knife. Someone who may have left the area suddenly without reason, or who had reason, but yet is somewhat still suspicious. Someone who has a hatred for women or sororities and feels left out and is acting out in strange ways. Please, if you have such information, submit it to the police. Do not approach. Do not insert yourself into this investigation. Let the police do their jobs. Let's all work together to get this killer off the street before he can kill again. So, this podcast is being dropped on Christmas of 2022. We at Charlie Crimebuster do want to remind you to please have a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy your loved ones, not just on this day, but every possible day you can, because the parents of these 4 Idaho young students would give anything to have that opportunity one more time. So, on this, the last podcast of this year, this is Charlie Crimebuster wishing you a new year without fear. All because, what? Yep, you stay alert to stay safe in the coming year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.